The UFC is back at the Apex for arguably the worst card of the year on paper. That doesn't mean we can't find good bets on it, though. Let's get into it. First fight of the night, we got Josh Quinlan taking on Adam Fugitt. So Quinlan, he's 1-2 in the UFC, has lost 2 in a row. Fugitt also 1-2 in the UFC, but his 2 losses were to Mike Malott and Michael Morales. So really not bad losses. Quinlan, 31 years old. Fugitt is 35. This fight is a pick 'em. It could go either way, -110 in either direction. I'm going to go with Josh Quinlan here. I just think he's got more ways to get it done. I don't think he's fought the better competition, but I think he's looked better in the UFC. So something to be said about that. He's -110. I'm going to parlay him. But yeah, Josh Quinlan money line -110. If you guys are looking for anything else to take, Quinlan by KO is +190. 4 of his 6 career wins have come by KO, and Fugitt's been knocked out 2 times. So I feel like Quinlan could probably catch him there, end the fight. Looking for anything else? If you guys want a nice parlay, please. Fight does not go the distance. It's -140. 19 of their 22 combined fights have ended by finish. That's 86% of their combined fights end by finish. So especially if you think Fugitt might pull it off, again, it is a pick 'em. That's definitely the safest play here. Fight does not go the distance. All right, next fight of the night, we got Asu Almabayev taking on Jose Johnson. So Almabayev, he's 19-2 overall, including 2-0 in the UFC, and he's on a 15-fight unbeaten streak. Jose Johnson, he's 16-8. He is 1-1 in the UFC. That one loss, he was the dude who got twisted by Damon Blackshear. So not the best loss. They're both roughly the same age. Almabayev is 30 years old and Jose Johnson is 29. The big difference here is Jose Johnson is a 6-foot bantamweight. So he'll have an 8-inch height advantage. I'm sure he'll have a reach advantage too. Whether or not that affects Almabayev, we'll see. Might be easier to take Jose Johnson down since he's taller. I'm going to take Almabayev money line here. He is -355. We're parlaying it with Josh Quinlan money line, and that's +145. I hate doing money line bets in general, especially money line parlays, but I really think as long as Quinlan gets it done in the first fight, Almabayev should be a sure thing here. If you guys are looking for anything else to take, Almabayev by sub +115. 9 of his 19 wins have come by sub. And Jose Johnson, he's got 8 losses, 4 of them by sub. And I mentioned the twister. That was his most recent loss. So his last loss, also by submission. Seems like a no-brainer on that one. If you guys want to take a nice parlay piece, the over 1.5 is -195. Almabayev, his last 7 fights have hit the over 1.5. And Jose Johnson, 2 of his 3 Zuffa fights have hit the over 1.5. I say Zuffa because I'm including UFC and Dana White's Contender Series, but 2 of his 3 Zuffa fights have hit the over 1.5. So over 1.5 seems pretty solid. Next fight of the night, we got Douglas Silva de Andrade taking on Miles Johns. So Silva de Andrade, he's 29-5 with 1 no contest. He is 7-5 in the UFC. He has jumped between bantamweight and featherweight. This is at bantamweight. His 3 losses at bantamweight: Rob Font, Piotr Yan, Saeed Nurmagomedov. Really not bad losses at all. Miles Johns, he's 14-2 with 1 no contest. That is 5-2 with 1 no contest in the UFC. And he's unbeaten in 5 of his last 6 fights. Douglas Silva de Andrade will be 39 in 2 weeks. So he's getting up there in age. Johns is still only 30 years old. I'm going to take the over 1.5 here. It's -300. I'm going to parlay it, obviously. But Silva de Andrade, he's hit the over 1.5 in 11 of 12 UFC fights. Miles Johns, similar. He's hit the over 1.5 in 7 of his 8 UFC fights. That is good for 90% of their combined UFC fights hit the over 1.5. Seems as sure as anything. You guys are looking for anything else to take? Fight does not go the distance is +140. Silva de Andrade, 25 of his 35 fights have ended by finish. Seems like dude always wins by finish. Miles Johns, only 8 of his 17 fights have ended by finish, but still, that's good enough for 63% of their combined fights end by finish. Giving me more than 50% and it's plus money, probably going to take it. I like Douglas Silva de Andrade as a dog here is plus 102. Okay. Johns has been finished in both of his 2 career losses, and Douglas Silva de Andrade has 22 of his 29 wins by finish. I think he can get it done despite age. Next fight of the night, we got Timothy Cuamba taking on Lucas Almeida. So Cuamba is 8-2. That is 0-1 in the UFC. He won on Contender Series, but never got signed. Ended up making his UFC debut in February, lost a split decision. Lucas Almeida is 14-3, including 1-2 in the UFC. Also fought on Contender Series and didn't get signed. But he made his debut back in 2022. Knocked out Mike Trezano, lost his last 2 since then. Cuamba is only 25 years old. Almeida, 33. I'm also going to take the over 1.5 in this. It's minus 165. Going to parlay it with Douglas Silva de Andrade, Miles Johns over 1.5. That gets us plus 114. Cuamba, 6 of his 10 fights have hit the over 1.5, and both fights under the Zuffa banner, aka his 1 UFC fight and his 1 Contender Series fight, they both went the distance. Almeida, despite 16 of his 17 fights ending by finish, he's hit the over 1.5 in 4 of his last 7. So Almeida's obviously the risk here. I feel comfortable about Cuamba making it go long, but will Almeida make it go long? We'll see. Anything else you guys looking to take? Almeida money line as a dog, plus 170. He's got close to twice the amount of fights of Cuamba, and he's got 3 UFC fights compared to Cuamba's 1 UFC fight. All 14 of his wins are by finish, and Cuamba has been subbed before. So Almeida could easily probably finish him, but why take the finish if you can get a money line at plus 170 anyway? Just go the safer route. If you want a nice parlay piece, fight does not go the distance is minus 170. I already mentioned, but Almeida, 16 of his 17 fights have ended by finish. Cuamba, 5 of his 10 fights have ended by finish. That's good enough for 78% combined. Co-main event, we got Ikram Aliskerov taking on Antonio Trocoli. So Aliskerov, he's 15-1, including 2-0 in the UFC, both first-round knockouts, and his only loss came to Khamzat Chimaev back in 2019. Trocoli, he's 12-3 and 1 no contest. This is his UFC debut, despite winning a contract on Contender Series in 2019. Yes, 2019. Did pop for steroids after that. They cut him. Finally coming back. He's only fought 1 time since winning that contract on Contender Series. They're roughly the same age. Aliskerov, 31. Trocoli, 33. I'm going to take Aliskerov by finish, minus 300. Aliskerov, 11 of his 15 fights have ended by finish. Trocoli, I mentioned 1 fight in the last 5 years. Also hasn't fought in 3 years, and he's been knocked out before. So plenty of paths to victory here for Aliskerov. I like the KO more, but it's minus 175. I think someone should hop on Aliskerov by sub, plus 250. 1/3 of his wins are by sub, and 3 of his last 8 wins have come by sub. Trocoli, sure, never been sub before, but I just mentioned the long-ass layoff, and I think Aliskerov finishes him either way, and you got a 50-50 chance of how he finishes him. Another bet that I really don't have much faith in, but if anyone wants to hop on it, the over 1.5, it's plus 165. Aliskerov has only hit it once in his last 5 fights, but Trocoli has hit it in 3 of his last 5, if that's worth something to you. Main event, we got Alex Perez taking on Tatsuro Taira. So Perez, he's 25-8, including 7-4 in the UFC. Has lost 3 of his last 5 fights. Did just knock out Mateus Nicolau back in April. Short turnaround. Tatsuro Taira is 15-0, including 5-0 in the UFC. 3 of those 5 wins have come by finish. Perez is 32. Taira's only 24 years old, man. This dude's going to be around for a minute. I'm going to take Tatsuro Taira money line, minus 175. I'm going to parlay it with Aliskerov by finish. That gets us to plus 110. I really like that. Perez, he has lost 3 of 5, I just mentioned, and he was finished in 2 of those. And he's got to be coming in without a full camp because he just fought in April. I'm sure he took a week or 2 off and then jumped right into this. Taira is undefeated with 11 of his 15 wins coming by finish. So I feel like he could probably finish Perez, but just going to go the safe route with the money line. Looking for anything else to take? Taira by sub. 7 of his 15 wins have come by sub, and Perez has been subbed 5 times. So I feel like that's probably the most likely path to victory. If you're looking for anything else to take, the over 3.5, which I really don't love, I'm not going to lie. It's plus 100, though. Taira's never been past the 3rd round. Also, I don't know if he's ever been booked for a 5-rounder on the regionals. Never was in the UFC. But he's never fought someone like Perez, and Perez has gone 5 rounds on the regionals before, so we'll see.
I'm worth 100,000 like Woodrow. When a ball call me Wilson, going overboard at the Hilton.